So according to my calculation, if it is correct, we are observing the 518th appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I believe that's correct. 518. Generally we say this is the year 2004. But for the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is not the year 2004. The year 2004 is a Christian calendar. It has to do with the birth of Christ. Lets you in on the world secret that the whole world is under the influence of Christianity. Even in great India, in Bharat, the land of Krishna and Rama, we're counting our days according to Jesus. So this is the Chaitanya era. The followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begin their date calendar from 518 years ago on this Falgun Purnima. This is also in Vrindavan, this is known as the Holi. This is the big grand finale of the Day of Holi. So today we'll talk a few things, both formal and informal, because we have a wide expanse of devotees here, from first and second time visitors to people who have spent most of their life here. So we'll talk a few different things. So again, I'll mention to you, this is the Purnima, known as Falgun Purnima. And in Vrindavan, in the land of Krishna, this is celebrated as Holi. This is the festival of throwing the colors, etc. This is today. That festival is performed in the morning up till 12 o'clock. And of course it is performed in many places in North India and also in Navadvip Dham. Mahaprabhu's place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace, is called Navadvip Dham. Navadvip means 9 islands. In the old days, when there was more water in the rivers, as we were seeing also here, the Kaveri, very less water. Recently in Nepal, we saw some famous Puranic rivers. They were all but a drainage canal, all that was left. Some rivers, like the great Saraswati river of the Rig Veda, is completely gone for thousands of years. We are in now Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, slowly, slowly, things are disappearing, things are vanishing from this earth. Some people say that every day 2 species of living things, maybe it's an insect, maybe it's a plant, or something more significant, but they say that every day 2 species of living things disappear from the earth forever. This is the age of Kali. Of course, we don't say correctly forever. Those things will all come again in Satya Yuga, which follows Kali Yuga. That's a long, long time. So in Navadvip, 500 years ago, there were 9 islands. Navadvip, Dvip means island. 9 islands were there. And these islands were created by the Ganges, the Jalangi, and other tributaries and branches of the Ganges. In that part of the world, the Ganges has hundreds of branches. The first one, as the Ganges comes from the Himalayas, it comes down across northern India through Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and then into Bengal. But at a particular point above, above Bengal, it starts to branch into many, more and more. And literally it becomes hundreds of branches as it goes towards the Bay of Bengal. The first branch to reach the Bay of Bengal, that's known as the Hooghly. Hooghly or Hooghly?
Hooghly.
Hooghly Ganga. It flows through modern day Kolkata under the great Howrah Bridge. It goes down towards this place called Sagar, and it touches the Bay of Bengal first. So from its origin in the Himalayas to its first place where it touches, that is known as the main stream of Ganga. Then later, all those branch, hundreds of branches, slowly, they all touch the Bay of Bengal. But the first one touches just past Kolkata, and that's the Hooghly. Hooghly. B or G? G. Hooghly. Huh? That's the Hooghly. All are considered the Ganga, but the principal flow of the Ganga is there. That principal flow flows through Navadvip. And in those days, along with the help of some other rivers, the Ganges created 9 islands. But now, if you go there today, you cannot spot 9 islands. I believe there are several islands, a few remain, and everything is much different than it was 500 years ago. Similarly, in Dwarka, in Krishna Lila, you see, you may read about Dwarka, but if you go to Dwarka, you can't find Dwarka, actually. There is a place they call Bed Dwarka. It's an island, but it is not the island which was Krishna's Dwarka. Dwarka was on an island, created in the Arabian Sea. Some land came up and Krishna built Dwarka there. Previously, Krishna had resided in several other locations. After leaving Vrindavan and Mathura, he settled in 3 places. Lastly, there was the famous Dwarka, as we know as Dwarka, but he stopped a few other places for some time. But after Krishna's Leela was no more manifest in the world, when his pastimes, Leela, were completed, then one day, that great Dwarka, it also vanished back into the sea. And it disappeared from the eyes of mortal men, of humans. It vanished. So similarly, shortly after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at the conclusion of his Leela pastimes, in his 48th year, then shortly after that, Navadvip, the town or the village in which he appeared, in which he performed many of his wonderful pastimes, that also disappeared, much like Dwarka. There was a great flood of the Ganges, and when the flood resided, the Ganges had taken a new course, and the Ganges had taken much of the earth, and the town was no more. And shortly following that, that land just became rice fields. Rice fields. And for several hundred years, it was known as the land of Navadvip. A new city of Navadvip developed on the western side of the Ganges. But it is mentioned in several places that Navadvip of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nadia, also it is called Nadia, that was on the eastern side of the Ganges. So in the 1800s, by the 1800s, there were very few real devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not only had the land of Nadia, Navadvip, more or less vanished, and the places of Mahaprabhu's actual birthplace, which is called Yogapid, and the places where he lived and his associates lived, those places were no more. They could not be seen, they could not be found, you see. Well, not only those physical, so-called physical places disappeared, but also after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the principal teachings of Krishna Bhakti, they also disappeared. They hid in the hearts of a few great souls. And many, we say, rascals, rogues, different types of cheaters, they began to market Krishna Bhakti here and there throughout Bengal, Bihar, in Vrindavan and places. Under the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they began to market Krishna Bhakti. And we say market it because they turned it into a business. They turned it into a maintenance scheme for families, for dynasties, and so many things. They made a business out of it. Generally, people do business because they need money for enjoyment. So they marketed it and turned it into a fanciful, enjoying party, not a real Sankirtan party. In various ways they did this. We don't need to go into the details of that. But they did this, and almost completely, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they also disappeared. But as Navadvip was hid under the Ganges, the teachings of Mahaprabhu were hid in the hearts of some of his pure devotees who remained in the world, who continued the parampara in the world, but they were so rare that they couldn't even find each other at times. It was so rare. And the example of this is that when Bhaktivinoda Thakura came to this world, we don't say that Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born according to his karma. We have information from the Vedas and Puranas and such references, and from other sampradayas, etc., like Ramanuja Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, that when there is a great necessity of uplifting religion, and Krishna says it himself in Bhagavad Gita, that either the Lord himself comes, means an avatar comes, or a chosen representative comes, and sometimes both. Sometimes both come, sometimes one or the other. So in every sampradaya, we find that there are personalities which the people of the sampradaya do not consider as mortal men or mortal women. There are personalities there. And they are regarded as divine from not even their birth, from before their birth. They are divine personalities of the spiritual world. And they come at some appropriate time when their work is needed, when their presence is needed. For what? For the benefit of mankind. In Madhva Sampradaya, we find Madhvacharya himself. He's considered to be a dual incarnation of Vayu and Hanuman. These two personalities combined in one. Or in this way, the potency, the Shakti of Hanuman and the Shakti of Vayu combined in this one personality, which we know currently as Madhvacharya. A great acharya, great preacher, a great philosopher who stood up against the tidal wave of Mayavad philosophy, which had been terrorizing spiritual culture for many hundreds of years, and literally at a point terrorizing. The Shankarites at a point even had armies, and they would invade all types of ashrams and mutts, and anyone who did not bow to their creed, they would kill them. So they actually became at a point terrorists. And even before that, the philosophy of the Mayavadi is a type of terrorism, philosophical terrorism, and that led them eventually to physical terrorism. And they terrorized the Vaishnavas to a point that some of the Vaishnavas to exist pretended to be Mayavadis. And they did only Shiva pujas and things like this. And if they were found worshipping Narayan, they would say, oh, because we want mukti, we'll worship Narayan. They even wore the 3-line tilak. And they did not show any signs of being a Vaishnava. Now that wasn't all over India, but that was in places. So at this great hour of need, then Krishna sent Madhvacharya. You follow? Before that, there was a similar hour of darkness, and Krishna, Vishnu sent Ramanuja. Ramanuja is considered to be the what?
Shesha, Anantasesha.
Yeah, Anantasesha. Because Anantasesha is a manifestation of Balaram, and Ramanuja is considered Sesha. That means the Shakti, the potency of Seshanaga. Anantasesha appeared as Ramanuja. And also, he was in a time when philosophically Vaishnavism was terrorized. And at a point, even his life was endangered in an attempt to kill him from the Mayavadis. Again, these impersonalist Mayavadis have shown us throughout history the cruel side, philosophically and practically. They were prepared to kill for spread their doctrine. So naturally, many people fell under the sway of these impersonal doctrines. Sway means they were under the influence. Better that than lose your head, I guess. So when these situations arise, then Krishna sends someone. So he sent Ramanuja. This is before Madhvacharya. And Ramanuja performed many wonderful activities and established Vishnu Bhakti over a great expanse of land in South India, and even traveling sometimes in the north. And he did this all in the face of different types of philosophical and other types of impersonal acts of terrorism. So when there's a great need, the Lord sends his representative. So in the north of India, in Bengal, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, things had not deteriorated to acts of physical terrorism, but certainly on a spiritual level, philosophical level, the teaching of Mahaprabhu had been terrorized. And in many ways which the Vaishnavas consider quite disgusting and deplorable and unfortunate. So almost darkness had descended. Shortly after the sun and the moon, there is a verse here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is nice, in the very beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The second verse, actually, of Chaitanya Charitamrita. First, Kaviraj Goswami says, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord, the Lord's incarnations, his preliminary portions, his energies, and the primal Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he writes, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon, and they have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda. Gauda means Bengal, on the banks of the Ganges, Nadia, to dissipate the darkness of ignorance, and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So this is a poetic inference. The sun and the moon cannot appear simultaneously on the same horizon. One will come, later the other comes. They don't come on the same line in the sky. That physically is impossible. So it's a poetic inference. What is sun? Sun gives light. What is moon? Moon gives light. Both sun and the moon are luminaries. One in the day sky, one in the night sky. But they are luminaries, and both of them dissipate darkness. Do you follow? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they are compared to sun and the moon. And they dissipate the darkness of ignorance that has found its seat in everyone's heart here in Kali Yuga. It is unfortunate to have to say it, but even the most educated men and women of our modern times are scarcely better than fools, actually. Even with a series of degrees and initials behind their names, they do not know who they are. They do not know who they are. They think that they are this body, in most cases, which is a combination of muscles and blood and so many things that any item of this body taken alone by itself is disgusting. But for example, a watch. You have a gold watch, diamond-studded gold watch with a, let's say, lapis or some sort of quartz crystal face and all these things. Each part of that watch has got value. You smash it into pieces, the gold is good, the diamonds are good, the quartz crystal is good. This body, it is only of any use when it's all in one. And any piece of it, throw it, burn it. Your tooth, your finger, hair, beautiful hair, beautiful hair. After cutting the hair, throw it into the waste bin. But when it's all together, oh, I am so beautiful. I am so handsome. We are thinking we are this body. Everyone in this material world is under that basic misconception. Regardless of how great their education in this mundane world is, great scientist, great philosopher, great poet, great musician, great magician, all of them under this basic misconception of life. And if you ask, who are you? They'll just give you a name, which can be found in a phone book. That's all. I am Mr. So-and-so, I am Mrs. So-and-so. They simply give a name. But who they actually are, they don't know. So this is the primal, all-pervading ignorance in this world, what we are. And what we wrongly think we are, everything else goes from there. One domino falls on the left, all dominoes fall after that on this side. One misconception, all misconceptions follow. They work for this body, they only work for society. All things beginning from, I am this body. What is that called? Ahankar. On the other side is standing a world of knowledge, and then after that knowledge acquired, a world of activity unknown to them. What is that knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul, I am not this body. That is Vedantic. But Mahaprabhu gave much more clarification. Jiva Swarapoi, Nitya Krishna Das. Not just Aham Brahmasmi. This Aham Brahmasmi of the Vedanta, this is not sufficient, actually. Because this is marginal. That I am just spirit soul, this is marginal. Marginal is a dangerous position. It can come Mayavad side. Again, it can fall back into the material side. There must be a positive knowledge. Jiva Swarapoi Nitya Krishna Das. Mahaprabhu told Nitya Krishna Das. You are the eternal servant of Krishna. Eternal servant of Krishna. Means you always have been, you always will be. You are even now the servant of Krishna, but you are not acting on that knowledge because you don't have that knowledge. This is the primary defect in every civilization, every species of life found anywhere in the universe. People get all excited about UFOs, alien beings, not so much in India. We have other important things to fight about and worry about. But in other countries who have leisure time, they're all excited about alien beings. There are so many abduction theories, abduction cults and movements, people claiming to be abducted by spacecrafts. And there so much talk about UFOs, aliens, alien beings, and all these things. But the primary misconception is the same. If you were ever to meet one of these creatures, well, I don't know what he would look like. Maybe he'd have 6 eyes, maybe only 1 eye, maybe no eyes. I don't know. They draw them in different strange ways, make movies about them. But you can rest assured, he or she in that spaceship or whatever doesn't know who he is. Does not know that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. He is thinking, I am this big green body with 1 big eye. I have come here to eat your planet or whatever. So, throughout the world, even the demigods, they have some glimpse. Like early morning, just 6:30, there's some light, but it's not sufficient to read the newspaper. It's not sufficient to do any work. It's some light. So demigods, they have some light. But they're caught up in the world of enjoyment, and the enjoyment is always keeping that as a dim light. They cannot see clearly their position. And demigods are constantly falling into the complications of the material world. They're always fighting to save their position. They sometimes become envious if a human being is performing some yagyas, which will get him elevated to a high position. Indra himself forgets what's his real position. He becomes inimical, and he fights against that person because he fears someone may come and conquer my chair as king of Indra. Fear. Fear is born from forgetfulness of Krishna. He forgets sometimes, even Indra, he forgets. And he becomes fearful of his position. So I have seen sometimes devotees, they forget Krishna also. Even the practicing, neck bead wearing, tilak wearing, japa chanting devotees, sometimes we forget about Krishna and we become fearful of a particular situation, be it physical, financial. We become forgetful and we worry, or we try to do something outside of what Krishna has arranged. And generally that fails. And then we come back to our senses, that, oh, Krishna is our maintainer. Krishna is arranging. What he arranges, we'll accept that, and we'll be happy with that, and we'll be successful with that. But so many other types of arrangements may not be favorable for the execution, that's not a good word. The performance of pure devotion. Execution means this is what happened hundreds of years ago. People executed pure bhakti. They massacred it, and they replaced it with all types of isms and false conceptions of life. So to come back to the point, Bhaktivinoda Thakura appeared in this world back in 1839, I believe it's 1839. We do not say that Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born according to his karma. And I was saying that it was so difficult there were so few Vaishnavas, they couldn't find each other. For many years, until his adult life, Bhaktivinoda Thakura could not find a Vaishnava of a similar heart as his own. It was so rare. He could not find any. Everywhere there was some great deficiency from what is actually the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so, and then he was so much filled with despair that at a point he prayed very, very sincerely to Lord Jagannath. At that time he was a magistrate in Jagannath Puri, and he was in charge of many of the fairs of Jagannath Temple and the town of Jagannath. He was the district magistrate. In those days, the district magistrate held a very dignified position. Now he holds only a nominal political power position, but in those days, a very high position, speaking in terms of society and the British Raj, and very dignified position. So Bhaktivinoda held that position as magistrate in Jagannath Puri, one of the principal temple towns in India from ancient times. So at that time he prayed to Lord Jagannath, please send me someone. Please send someone who will help me. Who will help me with my task, with this mission. So he couldn't find anyone. It was such a situation, he couldn't even find the copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. But that reason was for good reasons, because many literatures regarding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had begun to be tampered with. This is the way of the world. Even today, you find people doctoring the books. What do they call? Cooking the books. Fudging the books in some business, fudging the books in politics, writing some false things, all in manipulation. This is the land of manipulations and distortions. So many of the literatures regarding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had also come down to that. People would in those days there were no printing press, so they would write them again and again by hand. So anybody said, I don't know why he used that word, I'd like this one. And the little changes began, not just arbitrary changes. They began to change the meaning of certain things. They began to add certain things to give support to their view of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was about. But it appears that Krishna himself, he hid the Chaitanya Charitamrita so this wouldn't happen to it. And Bhaktivinoda, in his time, you would think it's 400 years after Mahaprabhu, it's 350 or so years after Chaitanya Charitamrita is written, you would expect it to be available. He couldn't find it. It took years and years. He finally recovered one handwritten copy. So one day I thought, oh, this must have been a divine arrangement so that Chaitanya Charitamrita would not fall into the wrong hands. The Lord himself had kept it somehow hidden, and when the time was right, one copy came to Bhaktivinoda. One copy, like original quality copy, came to Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And today we have the printed version. It's practically in every country of the world. It's in numerous languages, Bengali, English, I think there's Hindi, numerous languages around the world, Chaitanya Charitamrita. But at the time of Bhaktivinoda, can't hardly find a Vaishnava, couldn't find a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And at that time he prayed for Lord Jagannath to send him someone who can assist in his mission. And shortly after that time, his son, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, was born there in Puri. And Bhaktivinoda may have not, he did not think maybe immediately, no one knows for sure, whether this son was the answer to his prayer or not. He didn't specify how to send that person. They may come in a chariot, they may come on a horse, they may come as a beggar on my door. He didn't say how, but on the day that when Bhakti Siddhanta was a small child and his mother took him out of the house for the first time, that's a old customary thing, an old sanskara, which people used to observe, the child leaving the house for the first time, etc. That just happened to be the Ratha Yatra time. And it just so happened to be that Lord Jagannath's cart had broken down, broke a wheel. He was sitting in front of Bhaktivinoda's house, on Car Street in Puri for 3 days. So then the time came for the mother to perform the ceremony, and so she took the child out of the house for the first time and took the child up on Lord Jagannath's cart. So that was a doubly auspicious moment. And Bhaktivinoda was the story is he was some other place attending to affairs of Rath Yatra. And the other place, of course, she's the magistrate's wife, so she's got access all the way up to the feet of Jagannath. So she laid the baby on to the feet of Jagannath, and it was said that a garland broke from Jagannath's neck and just came tumbling down and poof, landed on the child. So all the priests said, "Oh, very auspicious, very auspicious." And they kept the garland with the child, and she took the child away. Later, some people reported to Bhaktivinoda, "Oh, you were very fortunate, your child is blessed. Today Jagannath gave his garland." But when he heard that, then he remembered his prayer. And he connected the two. And then he told his wife, we were told that he told his wife, take a special care. Don't neglect. I think that the Lord has sent his servant to help me. Then, the funny thing is, he named this child, which was his seventh or fourth son, I think. Something maybe fourth son. Bhaktivinoda Thakura had a large family. He named him Bimal Prasad. Bimal Prasad. So, he didn't name as a Krishna Prasad, as a Chaitanya Prasad. He didn't name as a Jagannath Prasad. He named as Bimal Prasad. So once when I was inquiring about the name, where the name Bimal, then I was told by one sannyasi, older gentleman, he told me, yes, his name was given Bimal Prasad. In Jagannath temple, there's one Devi temple. And that is a Bimal Devi. Then the gentleman proceeded to say that on such and such a dark moon night, he mentioned one lunar dark moon, Amavasya, one particular Amavasya, that at 12 midnight, when the temple is all locked, these Brahmins, they throw ropes over Jagannath wall and ladders, and they climb the wall, and they go in, and they break the lock on Bimal Devi, and they sacrifice a goat to Bimal Devi. And then later, they distribute that goat in their community. That's Bimal Prasad. And that's all he said. So I was like, oh, interesting. And Bhakti Siddhanta is Bimal Prasad. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. I just sort of blocked off the story. And still I was wondering, Bimal Prasad, why Bimal Prasad? Then it just so happened a few days later, we went to visit Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. And we were in his room, and suddenly somebody raised the question about Bhakti Siddhanta's name at birth, Bimal Prasad. So he began to say the same story. He said, in Jagannath temple there is a Devi temple that is known as Bimal Devi. So I'm hearing the beginning of the same story, but then he took a turn. He took a turn in a different way. He said, Bimal Devi is the Yoga Maya of Jagannath. Bimal Devi is manifesting all the arrangements for Lord Jagannath's pastimes, Jagannath's Leela. And Bhaktivinoda named Bhakti Siddhanta Bimal Prasad because he will reveal the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. So he took a turn in a different way. Then I felt very good. Yes, now I got the real answer. What is Bimal Prasad? The mercy of Bimal Devi, the internal potency, the Yoga Maya potency, who is going to reveal to the world Mahaprabhu's Leela. That will be Bhakti Siddhanta. So Bimal Prasad, not the other side. So that was the very special feature also of associating or having a darshan with Srila Puri Maharaj. You always got the right terms, and you came to the most perfect conclusions in the course of it. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, then Bhakti Siddhanta was born in 1874. Now, people argue. They say, oh, no, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by his own admission, he is an ordinary man. You see, he was non-veg in a particular lifetime. He had other social habits or something like that, you know. And he was a Mayavadi. He also was a Mayavadi. By his own admission, he's told these things, so you see he's also an ordinary man. But where is there any pure soul by his own admission will tell you, oh yes, you see, I'm a pure soul, I've always been pure, I was born pure. If you accept it only by their own admission, they'll all say, I am a fallen soul. I am a rascal number one. I am a fool. And anyone who tells you anything different, know for sure he's a fool. He's a rascal. So it becomes very difficult. You cannot find a real enlightened personality or a real pure devotee or a liberated soul or someone who's descended by asking them. You can't know in that way. About the only one that I can think of was Srila Prabhupada. And I mentioned this more times than one because he came to a world that said God was dead. That was the propaganda that he met when he came to America. People were saying God is dead. If there was a God, he died by now. And he'd say, no, he didn't. I have seen him. Otherwise, how do you win the argument? It's just belief. They're asserting he's dead. One spaceman, right, went up to space, and he reported, I went there, I didn't see any God. You know, you don't have the eyes to see him. You can't see the back of your own head either. You need help. If you take a mirror, you may see. If you take the help of Guru, you may see. But generally, the Vaishnavas do not reveal themselves boldly like that. That's the nature of a Vaishnava. Hidden type of nature, not in-your-face type of nature. So people will say like that, then he became liberated soul. So there is an argument out there, there is a debate. Was Bhaktivinoda Thakur a liberated soul from his birth? We say that he was, and we have written about that, and we have many things to say. We doesn't just mean me, Vishnu Maharaj, etc., but that we means Bhakti Siddhanta and many Vaishnavas since then, including Prabhupada, based on his life, based on his achievements, and based on his writings before he met the infamous Bipin Bihari Goswami, who people say was the source of the enlightenment of Bhaktivinoda. We have things which Bhaktivinoda Thakur has done, said, and written before that. It cannot come from a conditioned soul. They certify his being a liberated soul. And more importantly, that is certified by other great personalities, Paramahansis, liberated souls. But nonetheless, the argument goes on. No one's defeated in this day and age. When Ramanuja was here, he debated with some Jains in this place called Tananur, about 45 minutes drive from here, and he defeated them. All right? But after he defeated them, they kept on their nonsense. He went to the king and complained and said they should either surrender or cut their heads off. They have been defeated. In the old days, when you were defeated, it's just like in today's there's boxing. Right? So two guys fight. One's the previous year. He holds the trophy. Or the cricket team. Okay? Fights Pakistan, beats Pakistan in the game, and Pakistan takes the cricket trophy and runs out the door with it. Is this allowed? No, the police will catch them. That is criminal. They cannot steal the trophy. They have to surrender the trophy. Run off with it, they'll be dismissed from the league, they'll be arrested for theft. Well, 3,000 years ago, the king would catch a thief and cut his head off. So when you lost the philosophical debate, if you didn't surrender, then you were banished from society. And if you were pushy about it, you may be given the death sentence. What was said and what people said and what people believed was a very big part of society thousands of years ago. Now, two people have a debate, they have an argument, one person is victorious, the other one just goes on talking his nonsense again and again, shows up 2 months later with the same argument. We say, what? This argument already been dealt with for 100 years. It has been defeated 25 or 30 times. And again, the same argument. That's the nature of Kali Yuga. They go on like this. But about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, you can scrape the pages of history, you cannot find any small thing in one day of his life that indicates that maybe he's not a pure soul from birth. It is said that even the umbilical cord, which connects the baby to the mother when he was born, was wrapped around his neck like a Brahmin's thread. And his father said, just see, born Brahmin. Even from there, where we wouldn't suspect anything, there was some sign. Then the first food and only food, the first food he ate was Jagannath Paramana, sweet rice. He got the garland of Jagannath. One day, then someone says, but one day he ate a mango. He ate a mango when he was 3 years old that was not offered to Krishna. Ha! Just see, he's an ordinary soul. Huh? We say yes. And on that day, when he was 3 years old, when his father told him, oh, you ate the mango not offered to Krishna, that is the bhog. You took the bhog, that is offense. He swore, oh, I am a offender, and I will never eat mango my life. You cannot even remember when you were 3 years old. Who can remember what you said and did when you're 3 years old? Maybe if you're 5 years old, yes. But by the time you're 10 years old, 15 years old, you can't remember when you were 3 years old. You can't even remember. Not only could he remember, he kept the vow his whole life. And he lived to be almost 70 years old, 64, 65 years old. His whole life, from the time he was 3 years old, he never touched a mango again. And he would sometimes be offered mangoes when he was a great acharya. People would give so many fruits, he'd say, no, I'm sorry, I am an offender. I cannot take mangoes. So the whole story, there was no ordinary person can do like that. At the age of 3, take a vow, never to take mangoes again. Generally, a child can do and say anything, and within next mango season, he'll be eating. Children get boils. They cry. They get some big boil from eating too many mangoes. Then they I don't want any mangoes. Next year, don't you remember those boils? What boils? They go for the mango. They're led by the senses. Not Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. Then when he was 6 years old, he had a greater command of the slokas of Bhagavad Gita than anybody in this room. When he was 7 years old. A great command. And he was helping to edit his father's journals when he was 7, 8, 9. Like this. Nothing about his life shows to be mundane, actually. So both Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta in our parampara, they are accepted as liberated souls who appeared in this world. Just as Ramanuja is in the Ramanuja line and Madhva line. And I believe since Ramanuja and Madhva, there have been other great personalities also who have come in their lines. Maya has her line of thought. Maya has her line of agents. The Supreme Lord also has his agents. He has his line that is known as parampara. So, it was the first and primary work of Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Bhakti Siddhanta to rediscover the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Along with their many writings and their poetries and their preaching and their Sankirtan, it was their principal work. A work that nowadays is sometimes given second booking, as we say, as kind of rated second class. Maintaining the holy Dham. Maintaining the holy Dham, discovering the holy Dham. It just so happens if people live in Vrindavan or live in Mayapur, they are often second rated to people who are preaching outside in the world. But actually, that was the primary work of Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, to reestablish the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, and along with that birthplace, the places of his pastimes, to again manifest the eternal abode of Navadvip for the benefit of the world. And primarily they did this based on a statement by Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. He once, or maybe more than once, but it's recorded once, he made a statement that says, there will be a wonderful temple built at the site of Sri Chaitanya's birth. And from this temple, the Sankirtan of the holy name will spread all over the world. So, first what did they say? First the carriage, then the horse. There's a way. First the shoe, then the shoestrings. There's some way of things. It's not just any way you like it. First unzip the coat before you can put it on. There's a way of things. So spiritually, that's materially. Even spiritually, it's even more important. There's a subjective way of things. The Lord did not come here to please our senses. He did not come here to serve us. He came here to give an opportunity for us to serve Him. Service first. Surrender is necessary. Service without surrender is actually not service. It's something we call preliminary practice, but it is not the real thing. There must be surrender, then there can be service. So they knew it, that before the Sankirtan movement of Mahaprabhu can spread all over the world, the place of his appearance must be manifest again in this world. And along with it being manifest, there must be a great temple must be built there. And then from this, then the potency will go and spread all over the world. Now, some people are of the opinion that first the Sankirtan will spread all over the world, and after it spreads all over the world, then all the foreigners will come to India and build that wonderful temple. So there's some confusion is there. But what Nityananda Prabhu says, he says, a great temple, it's called an Adbhut Mandir, means a wonderful, beautiful temple, will be built at the birth site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from that temple, then it will go all over the world. So Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta, not being conditioned souls, not being from the Judeo-Christian background, not being foreigners and not being egotistical in so many things, they knew that first the order of the Lord must be served. The order of God must be served first, according to His direction, what He wants. And then accordingly, the Sankirtan will be successful. So that was their primary work. But they didn't even know where to begin, in one sense, because it was all hidden. They knew a vague location. But there's a saying in the English language, look and you will find. Seek and ye shall find. It's an old saying. You try. It means you try. God is there to help you. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I preserve what you have. What is it? I carry what you lack. I preserve what you lack. Do something on your part and help you. So with this fundamental understanding, they searched and they looked in various ways in trying to locate where this is. There was, of course, a place. People were saying, why, look, it's here. Huh? When going to that place, it's in the greater Navadvip Dham, but Bhaktivinoda did not feel confident that this is actually Mahaprabhu's birthplace. There were several reasons for that, but he did not feel confident. Even his mantra guru said, this is the place. And he did not feel confident with that, because that mantra guru of Bhaktivinoda was not a liberated soul. And he was with a group of much less than liberated souls. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura continued to search. And first he looked through the available sacred text books. And the first thing that they ascertained was that Navadvip, the ancient town of Navadvip, is on the eastern side of the Ganges, not on the western side. And according to what they could see, because you can understand, if a river was somewhere yesterday, it's sure. Right now, if water did not flow in the Kaveri for 200 years, you would be able to see without any difficulty whatsoever where the Kaveri used to go. That river bed would not disappear in 100 or 200 years. It takes a long, long time before a riverbed disappears. So on the other side of Navadvip, they could find nothing to indicate that the Ganges was there. They found only to indicate the Ganges is this side, somewhere, this side. Of course, it was here, but see, this is east, this is west. And Navadvip is here. It's on the wrong side. So Navadvip was on this side, so that means the Ganges would have to come this side. But they found no possibility that the river could come on this side, so they knew it must be here. So first through textbooks that are written, and that means scriptural books that mention Navadvip and its location and so forth. But ultimately it came down to divine revelation. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he had a vision, as we say. He caught a glimpse of the eternal Navadvip in a particular direction, which caught his attention. And he saw this on more than one occasion from his rooftop. He would look out towards what he thought was the area of the eternal Navadvip, the place of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, which was all rice fields and a couple of Mohammedan villages. No Hindu village was even there in that area. And one day in the early morning while chanting his japa, he got a glimpse, a divine glimpse of the eternal Vaikuntha Navadvip, the Sweta Dweep of Navadvip. And I believe this occurred on more than one occasion. And then he went in that direction with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta in search of what may be lying there, and again, mostly rice fields. But on one day, while searching the area, they came to this place near to a village. Some land was there, owned by a Mohammedan, and there was a natural Tulsi garden was being maintained there. Well, the Mohammedans don't really care much about it, but this Mohammedan, for some unknown reason, he was maintaining it. And when they entered that area, the Tulsi garden, then Bhaktivinoda could feel the presence of his own homeland, so to speak. Sometimes you're looking for something and you go in a store and you come, this is not the place. And then you come in, oh, this is some knowing. We are not feelingless creatures. Actually, feeling is your best way of knowing, ultimately. In the last issue, feeling is the most important instrument. In the beginning, you have to hear. You have to accept knowledge. And ultimately, know it by such. And ultimately, know it by such. Not because, by feeling, by realization. So when he entered that garden, he felt, oh, this is a divine place. This is a divine place. And he held that place in suspicion, this may be the place of Mahaprabhu's birth. So at that time, during those times, Bhaktivinoda Thakura had come to know Jagannath Das Babaji as his Shiksha Guru, and really as his Sadguru. It is called Sadguru, really fully his Guru. And this other fellow who was more or less a social icon of the Guru establishment, Bhaktivinoda always gave a formal respect, but his heart was at one with Jagannath Das Babaji. And Jagannath Das Babaji was Paramahansa, liberated soul also. So, the way of the Vaishnavas is not without confirmation. You think something, you know something, you don't get your head as big as a horse or an elephant and think, yes, I know, no one can tell me. I have seen some successful preachers, after getting 1,000 or 2,000 disciples, then they get this attitude, no one can tell me, I know what I'm doing. No one can tell me, I know what I'm doing. But that is never the way, really, of the Vaishnava. Even the greatest Vaishnava, he yearns for some confirmation, some association, someone even to talk to about those higher things, those important things. So Bhaktivinoda didn't think, well, I'm a liberated soul, I know what I'm doing, no one can tell me, this is Mahaprabhu's place, said and done. He brought Jagannath Das Babaji there. Now the story is that Jagannath Das Babaji was so old at that time, he generally never walked anywhere. He would be carried in a basket, which was a system, and of course the Vaishnava community had arranged a servant, a good strong man who would carry him wherever he needed to go in a basket. He was something up over 110 years old or something like that at the time. So Bhaktivinoda arranged to bring Jagannath Das Babaji there, and who was also blind at the time, means not much use for looking from the eyes anymore, although he did wear glasses, like Srila Sridhara Maharaj, he wore glasses, but with or without, it was the same thing. In his old age, he couldn't see. So when Bhaktivinoda wanted to bring Jagannath Das Babaji there to see if, Babaji had any experience there of note. Well, he certainly did. When he got there, before the man could even set down the basket, Jagannath, who was blind, who didn't even know where he was, jumped out of the basket. And when he landed on the ground, he started dancing and performing kirtan. And he was at an age where he couldn't even walk, what to speak of jump out of a basket. And he couldn't see where he was. As far as he knows, he could have been anywhere. But with the internal eye of devotion, he could understand that he was in the Yogapit. He had been brought to the epicenter of Chaitanya Lila. So that must have been a more than ecstatic moment for the few blessed souls that were there at that time. So then, based on Jagannath's experience, then Bhaktivinoda, he took the resolve, this is Yogapit. Then he set out to prove it through other historical, archaeological evidences, literary evidences, notations and here and there, and all around from every possible way, he proved this is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But without any of the evidences, he knew it is so because of the experience of Jagannath Das Babaji, what he manifested there. Do you follow? That is what we do. I don't know if I'm the spirit soul or not. I don't know if Krishna is God or not. I don't know. But my guru knows. My guru knows, and that's good enough for me. And then I know it's true. And then I can argue and put scripture and make defense and show archaeology and everything to prove that. But if I didn't know from the point, sure, it is sure, then how would I know? I wouldn't know. That's the way of Vaishnavism. You don't know, your guru knows. And based on that, you know. Some people recently, in the last few years, they said guru knows everything. He knows if someone's snatching money. He knows if someone is dying. He knows if someone ate too much sweet rice. He knows if someone's burning the sweet rice. He knows all these things. We thought, my God, he must be crazy to know all these things. You can't even sit in a room with 3 people talking. You go, hey, shut up. Too many talks. We have seen Prabhupada in the same way. They're not in a room, everybody talking and just adjusting all of that. They want some peace and quiet themselves. Understand? But some people are saying, Guru, he knows everything. He knows everything. And Prabhupada had said, yes, Guru knows everything means Krishna. He knows Krishna. Krishna is everything. So he knows everything is Krishna. If Krishna reveals something, he may know that. If Krishna doesn't reveal that, how he will know that? So later on, some people said, well, he told you that because you weren't ready for the truth. But that gentleman doesn't know that we were so crazy that if Prabhupada told us to cut off your head, we would cut off your head. Whatever he said, that was the truth. Understand? We were young and very committed, and very fanatical at the time. What to speak of explaining if he knew everything and he said, yes, I know everything, we would all jumped and said, Jai. No one would have said, well, no, wait a minute. Let's think about it. How is this? No one would have doubted it. Anybody would have doubted him, would have got him by the neck and just carried him out. And the fact is, it's more difficult to understand what that means. Guru knows Krishna. Krishna is everything. Therefore, Guru knows everything. And Krishna reveals everything. Or what everything means, what is within his choice, as he wants. So, what was the point? So, because of Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda's commitment, resolve, yes, we have found the place of God. Now, for the ordinary people who don't have Guru Nishta, Guru Bhakti, Guru Shraddha, okay, we have to convince them by different arguments because people will challenge your faith. Your pure faith won't hold up in court. You'll need evidence. And it went to court. It went to the court. And they sustained the birthplace of Mahaprabhu as Yogapita in the court. And finally, the governor of Bengal, who was the second most powerful man and the third most powerful man in the world. First, there was the king and queen of England. Then there was the viceroy at Delhi. And then there was the governor of Bengal. The third most powerful man in the world came to Mayapur. And there's a picture of him sitting in a chair. And there's a silver thing on the desk. Well, inside that silver canister is the Hear Ye proclamation that says that Yogapit and gives its location is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. So he even went so far as to get the third most powerful person in the world to verify this. From who? So that the fools may not be misguided by the cheaters across the river who are claiming some false place of Mayapur just to collect money to maintain family and things like this. That says that Yogapit and gives its location is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. So he even went so far as to get the third most powerful person in the world to verify this. From who? So that the fools may not be misguided by the cheaters across the river who are claiming some false place of Mayapur just to collect money to maintain family and things like this. But by evening, you'll see 1 million people. If you were up on a tall table, look, you'll see over 1 million people swarming the area. Like some sound of a crow, they're making crow sound. This is actually really place. Their temple was built there. Interesting point to note. Their temple was built there. They built some temple, call it wonderful even. They built a temple there long before Bhaktivinoda. But the prediction never came true. After they built their temple, the holy name of Krishna, Mahaprabhu's name, never spread all over the world. Then Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta, they built and inaugurated this temple at Yogapit. And from there, Krishna consciousness has gone all over the world. You are hard-pressed to find a place in the world, even in the Aboriginal cultures or even in the isolated parts of the world, that you can go there and nobody heard of Krishna. I mean, that there's not somebody that doesn't go, oh, Hare Krishna. I mean, that's been the case for many years, what to speak of now. I've gone to places in Africa, the dark continent. You thought you were at the end of the world. You are at a place now where you're going to tell people about Krishna because nobody in this land ever heard about Krishna. And as soon as we stepped off the airplane, one man just looked at us and said, Hare Krishna. Already done. But there were a few million there that didn't know. But the point was, at that point, one did. But today, if you go there, that's 28 years later, I bet you more than one man there knows, or one woman knows, or one child knows. The point is, from Yogapit, the temple built by Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta, and then the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta are not to be excluded, but it starts there. From there, all of them came to join. They came to be the servants of Bhaktisiddhanta. From there, they were instructed what to do. They went out and did that. Principally among them, Srila Prabhupada. He came to the far, far distant Western hemispheres with Krishna consciousness. And now many descendants of Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples and grand disciples, they can be found all over the world, from Siberia to South Africa, from New York to London, they're all over the place. And nobody from that other place is anywhere except on the internet complaining. They are nowhere and doing nothing to fulfill the prophecy that from Yogapit, the holy name will spread all over the world. So, Palena Priya Prichite. You judge the pudding by the taste. The rice might look good, but when you eat it, you'll know if it's cooked or not. You see, the proof is in the pudding, they say. It's different expressions. So anyone can say, and everyone's saying, but who actually did it? Who did it and who's still doing it? Those who have their connection with Navadvip Dham, Mayapur, Bhaktivinoda, and Bhaktisiddhanta, they're doing it. And the others are like the crows who come and sit in the tree and criticize everything beneath them. They just make critical statements. Or they say the dogs bark when the caravan passes. So many elephants are going on the road and the local dogs come out and make sound. But the elephants continue. And gradually the sound of the dogs just dies out. So these critics of Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta, they are no more than crows or barking dogs, actually. And unfortunately, they'll probably have to take that species of life in their next life. They'll probably have to become dog and crow and possibly even worse. I mean, it's one thing not to know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not to know about Krishna, not to know about those great souls. It's one thing not to know, understand? And it is a completely other thing that you know and you criticize it and you fight against it. Better to remain in ignorance for another 1,000,000 lifetimes and you just don't know. And you just live according to your karma. And then one day you will know the truth and you will act on that and you will go back to Godhead. But when you come in connection with the truth and then you criticize it and you fight against it and you try to trouble it, and we've even seen people at this ashram. 1 year, 1.5 years ago, there were some people, they tried to give trouble. In their pea brains, they thought this ashram will be finished now. They had their story. And now they are drunkards. They don't even believe in Krishna. Those same people who are making all the honk, honk, honk. Giving up all designation of a Hindu, Vaishnava, not even considering themselves a Hindu. Or I am a drunkard Brahmin. And in the meantime, Krishna consciousness went on. The parade went on. The dogs barked. It is better to be an ignorant person in the rice field. You just don't know. You don't know you should come here. You don't know. You just don't know. So anything you do wrong at that point, well, okay. Some reaction, but not so bad. But you know. And then you fight against that truth. Then you categorize as the most unfortunate creatures in the universe. It's sad, but it happens. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission now in 500 years has had different high points and down points. But here we are 518 years later, and the holy name of Krishna is out there on every continent. It's just out there in every major city and town and practically right down to farm village in the world. It's out there. But there's always somebody that doesn't know yet. You see, there's somebody, even living in India. I have seen amongst the young people, particularly young people, not just the young, but particularly the young, living in India, and it's just like, I wonder how they got born in India. Why they even got born here? They should have been born in Brooklyn, New York or something. But, and they're born in a certain environment, modern halls, modern this, and I doubt if some of them even know who Ganesh is. In the Hindu family, and probably don't even know Ganesh, what to speak of Krishna, what to speak of Mahaprabhu. But they are born within a day's train ride of the holy land of Navadvip, more or less, or within an hour or 2-hour flight. They're so close, but yet they are so far away. So to preach Krishna consciousness in Mahaprabhu's mission, one doesn't have to go to the other side of the world. There are plenty of people just within a few hundred meters of this gate who still do not know the importance of their life, how to perfect their life, what is Krishna, what is devotion, what is the holy name of Krishna, what is the grace of Mahaprabhu, within a few hundred meters of this ashram. And even amongst us, how clearly do we understand that? Ourselves also. So we don't have to go anywhere and everywhere in the world to preach. You can do that right here in the ashram. You can do that right here in the village or right here in your own state, you see. I mean, we used to always ask people, we would meet different Gaudiya Mutt people, old men, myself and Tripurari Maharaj particularly, one day, and I don't know, Mr. Maharaj, you may have been there, but we met one old disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta at Bagh Bazaar. We went to Bagh Bazaar. And it was very nice and cordial and happy to see us, and we talked, and then Tripurari Maharaj says, when you're going to the West? So he told, well, there's almost 1 billion people here in India, almost. You don't think there's any work here also? So we were young, we were thinking, really work is in America. Really work is in England. That's a little bit of our younger ego. Work to be done by Mahaprabhu is everywhere. It's right here in our own village. It's in our own state. It's in our own country. It's in foreign countries also. But what I've noticed nowadays is, because Prabhupada went to the West, right? All the preachers go to the West. Hardly any of the preachers of Krishna consciousness go around India. And I sometimes say this critically, they go to the West to make disciples of people who struggle their whole life to follow the 4 regular principles. And they neglect to preach to the people who live here in India who are born following the 4 regular principles. I mean, there are people here in this village, just this ordinary village here, who have probably never even drinking water outside of their own house. What to speak of non-veg or something else. Of course, there's a lot of non-veg and all that, But also there are families and traditions that kept living a pure life, and they still haven't heard about Mahaprabhu. So I've noticed that many of the big world preachers, they spend the whole year going to the Malecha dish and preaching, because that's where the bucks are. That's where the money is. India's rich but tight, very tight. Money is very community oriented. People give to their community gurus in India, by caste, by birth. But I've noticed, they go outside, and I'm talking about the real devotees of Krishna. They will spend more time outside preaching to Malechas who cannot hardly even follow basic principles of sub-religion, and they'll neglect preaching here in India. And probably now there's more need of preaching in India than there is in the West. People are interested towards pure standards of living, environmental issues, spiritual issues, meditation. There's an inclination going this way. These things in India have become an embarrassment, a social embarrassment. A great section of the society in India is embarrassed to associate itself with its own culture. They dress, eat, think, and everything except drive like a Western. They drive like an Indian. But everything else, they go on Western. They just tell themselves, I'm not an Indian, I'm not an Indian, I'm not an Indian. I don't. They want to be, they're called wannabes, and there are millions of them now. So, the reason I'm saying this is I had some plan to go to the West this year to get some bucks. But Krishna canceled all those plans, and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm staying right here. But not without anything to do. We have much to do. And just to boast a little about our little ashram, by the grace of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu and Radha Madhava and all our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhara Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj, and other Vaishnavas, we're actually quite accomplished at this little ashram. We, for as small as we are, we do quite a lot of activities and quite a lot of work at spreading Krishna consciousness, both locally and internationally. So I don't need to go and tell what each devotee does and who helps them. But the fact is, this little ashram and the people that are here, and the people that some of them that aren't here, that help this ashram, a tremendous amount of service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gets done from this place. And that cannot be just by human endeavor, not just because we have money. I know people with so much money that they can't get any service done. They can't even think of some service practically, but they have money. So money alone does not enable us to serve Krishna, serve Mahaprabhu. It requires some blessing, some divine grace, some inspiration is necessary. And when that is there, we'll be able to serve even if Lakshmi hasn't built her palace here yet. And funds and money and such might be a little less. Still we'll be able to do things. But without the blessing of our acharyas, without the blessings of the Supreme Lord, even if we're crorpatis or multimillionaires, we won't be able to do much good. First thing is necessary is their blessing. Then service will follow. Not that we'll get money, then we'll do service, and then we'll offer that to them because they need it. No, they don't need it. The Lord doesn't need it. God doesn't need anything we do. The argument is there. People say, oh, I offer food to God. He doesn't need any food. God gave you the food. Yes, we say we're like his children. He likes to see us feed him. But we feel, no, what do you say? He needs our food. Bhakti says actually he needs our food. He must eat. What if you're having a feast? You're eating, and then you're finished, you sit back. Oh, you're finished. Then your mother says, oh, I forgot to offer you the sweet. Then she offers you the sweet. Right? The same thing, when you're cooking, and the offering is made, and Krishna's plate is made, and the offering is made, and then somebody goes, oh, we forgot to offer the sweet. Well, then go offer it to him. He's there. Somebody take it and go back inside with the cup and give Krishna a sweet. If you were sitting at the table, isn't that what we would do? Huh? So don't think that Krishna is made of stone. He's just a stone, and you play some ritual, And after that, oh, time is over. What's the meaning? Well, then next time we forget to give you the sweet rice, we'll say, oh, never mind, time is over. You'll say, never mind the time, give the sweet rice. So devotees think of Krishna as something real, not something surreal, not something false. Something absolutely real. So, his blessings, the blessings of Srimati Radharani, the blessings of Mahaprabhu, Gaurnitai, all these things in our acharyas, they're necessary. So first we should try in our personal behavior, in our exercises, in our service, the things we do to please them, in our line. Then we'll have success. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Bhakti Siddhanta, they knew for the holy name to spread all over the world, the service of Mayapur was essential. And they gave, and they went out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, in those days, in the middle of nowhere. It took 2 days to get there, even by train. Now you get there in 3 hours by car, but it took 2 days to get there by train, or 2 days to get there by boat. And it was just literally, it makes this look like a metropolis. You see, it was just out there in Bengal off the Ganges in just rice fields. There was nothing out there worth going out there for. In fact, it's dangerous. That's why it took 2 days to get there. Because you would reach there just at night, but you didn't dare cross the Ganges in the night, or the river pirates will rob you. It was a treacherous area, you see, because Maya had come all around, and Maya's agents, Ganges river pirates, dacoits, gundas, they were in plenty. But they knew this must be established according to the wish of the Supreme Lord first. And then the great good can be done to all the world. And they did it in that way. So we should understand what is to be done first and how to progress properly in our spiritual life. Not think that we would just jump to the final degree position when actually we have not finished the first course. We want to take the last course. And so many things follow that way of thinking. You understand? So this is a good day to remember that, the appearance of Mahaprabhu, everything by his grace. So we should sincerely pray for his grace. And if we're not telling prayer actually, although you can tell prayer and you can recite many prayers and slokas, giving the blessings of Mahaprabhu, even if you're not doing that, in your mind of minds, you should all remember. We should all remember everything by his grace. If we were to have any success in this world, only by his grace. Go Premanandi. Sri Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gauritai ki jai. Radhika Madhava Sundara ki jai. Go Premanandi.